quietly. You always do. And
pull my presentation up while
it is. The meeting is being recorded. It didn't say it's being recorded. And Krista, do me a favor, talk to us a moment. Make sure we're.
Yes, I can hear you.
If you're talking, we can't hear you. Usually,
Yes.
you are being recorded.
And I can hear you coming in nicely.
Keep talking, Krista.
Okay, well, we're excited to have Shantell with us this evening. She is fabulous and a woman of many skills and talents. You're going to be wowed and amazed at all she has been able to accomplish in one single lifetime.
on your computer, is it muted? Oh, that's my computer, sorry.
Okay, is it? No, it's not yours because you're not sharing it, so it's not going to show yours.
Oh, okay.
Is that good?
There we go.
We're still here. We're not going to be right back.
Okay, now talk to us, Krista.
Hi,
There we go. Okay.
welcome. Okay.
I'm going to share my screen now, okay? And pull this presentation up. And I'm going to minimize that screen. This meeting is being recorded, it says. Okay? Can everybody hear
Not
me
yet.
okay? I'm assuming
Yes.
so. Can you see my presentation on the web feed?
No, we would
Not
see
being
it.
shared just yet.
Okay.
We would see it on the monitor. I can see it here. If
Share it again and perhaps share. I'm just going to share my desktop instead of the program.
here we come.
And now can you see it?
Yep.
You got it. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Great. Well, my name is Shantell Ogden. I'm also in the same boat as everyone who's in transition. I'm calling it sort of my second act because I've been doing some other things besides what my background is, which is marketing, communications, and change management, which is, I heard you say also marketing and communications. So what I wanted to do tonight is share a model that I have found to be very helpful. And this is not about personality. This is an observable behavior model. So it's what you see people say. And I wanna just go through a little bit of background here. Let's see, can I advance my slides? I might have to click. Okay. So we're gonna talk about just what the social styles are, how they came about. It's not a model that I came up with. And then we're gonna identify what your own social style is. So when you leave tonight, you'll know more about what your social style is. And then we'll talk about kind of each of the different styles. There's only 4. And then I have a trivia game because I feel like it's good to like put it into action. And if you can only remember the 4, there's only 4 types. And if we practice a little with the types, you'll be really good at identifying what they are. And then if you can, that will help you in things even like interviews, how someone presents themselves or greets you in an interview or what kind of questions they ask will tell you more. Okay, so this is from a group called Trade-Off. They defined this model and it's basically to help people communicate and interact more effectively. There is a book you can get. It's on Amazon. If you want to learn how to facilitate these workshops, you can go through a facilitator course. And I wanted to share this. This is actually a video. Will this work?
We'll find out.
I think. I want to see if it will work. No.
Looks like it's working.
It's gonna.
Is your audio still on?
meeting people where so many of us go through a world dictionary and if we go somewhere else and treat it exactly. There's a power of social style that's relaxing out there. For receiving information out of that. The power of times that when I understand my style, I different than your style. I'm able to adjust my behavior first. Oh, whoa. Better together, things like engagement, coaching, really plays, ourselves. It's absolutely foundational skills.
Okay, so that's all I'm going to share about the video. But he makes a couple interesting points. So one is adaptability, which we're going to talk about. So interestingly enough, you know, the golden rule we've heard is, you know, treat others how you would want to be treated. But actually that's not really it, right? What really is it is the platinum rule, which is treat others the way they want to be treated, right? So this is about learning what the social styles are, so then you can connect with someone the way they want to connect and share information the way they want to connect. And so that's what makes this so powerful, I think. So this is not a personality thing. This isn't like what color's your parachute or any of those types of things. This is based on observable behavior. And the idea here is that we all are very habitual. I used to work at Nissan, and the marketing people were always fascinating to me because they literally had it down to a science. There were only like 10 different car personas, right? 10 different types of people that would buy cars. And realistically, we all have those habits, right? Like I'm a Mac person, so I've got an iPhone and a Mac computer, and I drive an SUV, right? We all have like habits, you know, and I've had a Mac. This is my third or fourth Mac. That's my third or fourth SUV. You know, I have a dog. Like I'm a certain type of person, and I'm gonna choose certain things, and I have certain habits that are going to present themselves again and again and again. So these are things you say, and then things you do. These are the habits, right? And it has nothing to do, again, with your personality, which includes bigger ideas like your value system and your hopes and your dreams. Like that, we're not talking about that. We're talking about how you actually behave and interact with others. Everybody with me? Hopefully the people online are with me. Okay. So this is what it is and what it's not, right? So it is behavior, it isn't personality. So why would understanding this be helpful? What are some thoughts around that before we dive into the model itself?
I guess why wouldn't
I love it. Great answer.
But I'm thinking too, it would make you better understand the people you work with. To have a more effective work situation.
No? Any thoughts from the folks online about that?
They're usually pretty
Anybody
silent.
typing? Okay. All right, well, oh, is someone? No?
No.
Okay. Well, we're gonna talk about these and then maybe I'll ask the question again. So again, this is one of those things where it's not better or worse. It's just, do you like chicken or fish? Like, it's not, one isn't better than the other. They all have their pros, they all have their fun. Everybody kind of has a home base. In different situations, I might be leaning towards one thing or another, but most generally, everybody will fall into their home base quadrant, okay? So when we go to the next section, which is gonna help you identify what your social style is, don't overthink it too much, right? You could analyze it to death, but one answer is gonna feel more like you than the other, okay? So here are the quadrants. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the horizontal line, okay? And this is about assertiveness. So are you someone who tells more, or are you someone who asks more? Okay, so on the ask side, these are folks that talk slower, ask questions, they're contemplative, they lean back, they're kind of data, risk averse kind of folks. The tell side talk faster, share perspectives, decisive, they're hypothesis driven, and they take risks. Okay, so everybody needs to pick a side, just in your head, right? Okay, and then just remember what side you were on. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to the next slide. Now we're going to talk about the vertical axis. This is your responsiveness. Okay. So are you more controlled, is above the line, or are you more emotive, which is below the line? So if you're controlled, above the line, going vertically, you're more even, harder to read. If you're more emotive, you're going to be excitable, people-oriented, easier to read emotions, okay? So everybody needs to pick a side. So are you above the line, below the line? Okay?
Are we allowed to be on the lines?
No.
I'm at the intersection, I'm sorry.
One of them will be more than another.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay, so that's the model, okay? So if you were on, so we have ask, tells, emotes, controls. So if you are someone who tells and you're more controlled, you're in this
Interesting.
driving quadrant. If you're someone who asks and you're more controlled, you're an analytical. If you're someone who asks, but who asks a lot and emotes, you're amiable. And if you're someone who emotes, but tells more, you're expressive. So I'm clearly expressive, right? Like that's plainer than plain, right? Here I am waving my arms and I'm all excited to talk about this and, you know, this is fun and we're, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm an emotes person all day long. Does anyone want to share what they are? Go ahead.
Amiable.
Amiable, okay, so you're somebody who is dependable, pliable, open, and you're people oriented as well, right? Okay, anybody else want to share?
I don't fall into that category.
Amiable, okay.
We have, what did you say? Wait.
Amiable.
Well, yeah.
No idea? Okay. Oh, you gave me a stage. I'm expressive.
And I think David's gonna share his too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I am definitely on the analytical side.
I was gonna say, because I used to work with David and it does not surprise me at all that you're a fact and a logical and a data-driven person.
But how about you?
Expressive.
Express out, we're both on the stage.
Yeah. Anybody on the call on the website want to share theirs?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see a poll for different things, but there's one that really jumps out.
Right, and that's the home base, right? Like there are times when I'm really a driver personality and I'm like, I just gotta get this done and but my normal home base is the expressive, right? Was anybody surprised or shocked by where they ended up? Really?
No, not really. I was going to ask her or make a statement that it really depends on, from my standpoint, the position that I'm in.
Right.
My home base is typically data-driven, analytical, but if I'm being pushed to get something done, I'm on the driving side,
Yep.
or I'm telling somebody, you must do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so I flip a lot between the analytical aspects of driving.
And I think one thing I would say, just in my experience, this isn't cold hard fact or anything, but it feels like to me, the square that you're closest to is the one that you typically will have as a secondary, right? So as an expressive, sometimes I go amiable and I'm just like, okay, whatever we need to do to make this work, and it's all about the team. And sometimes I go driving, like we've been talking about this for too long and we've got to get this done and it has to be done by Friday. But rarely do I go to the analytical and just like ruminate over the data, right? But I think that, at least in my experience, you're more likely to go to the quadrant that's closest to your home base as secondary, maybe even tertiary kind of behaviors. So now we're going to go through and we're going to talk about sort of the pros and the cons, right? And we're going to talk about this concept of the need they have, the orientation they have, so what they need, typically how they're thinking about things, or what their orientation is to a problem, and then what their growth action is. Okay, so the analytical tend to be thoughtful, reserved, and slow paced. They need to be right. They want to be right. Okay, and they're thinkers. They're big thinkers, and so they can appear. So the thing is, they can come across as kind of quiet, logical, sometimes reserved. And sometimes that can be, on the downside, looked at as a little bit distant and disconnected, right? And they don't want to really engage unless there's a reason to engage. So this is, again, just the analytical style, okay? The next style is the driving style. They want results, right? They want to drive it to done. They want to take it to done.
Can you describe the growth action on your screen?
Yeah, the growth action is like something that they should try to do more of. So it's like something that they should
Grow.
to.
So
right?
if you could go back one slide. the growth
Yeah,
action,
so
I don't know what's
declare.
declare. So what is that?
Well, I think it would be like come forth with your opinions and your thoughts more readily if you don't already do that. And obviously, some people do already do that, but because the analytical can tend to be thoughtful and reserved, the growth action for them is to kind of step forward. Again, if they're, some people are probably already good at it, but that's kind of their growth action.
Okay.
And we're gonna look at a grid at the end, and you guys can take screenshots of this if you want with your phones, because there's a good summary slide at the end that has all of these in a grid. The driving style, they want results. Their need is results. They want action, but their growth action or their growth opportunity is to listen, right? So these are sometimes the leaders that kind of come in, they're very directive, they can be very forceful, but sometimes they can run over people, right? And they focus so much on getting things done, sometimes they can't read the room, right? I've done this before. I've been so focused on things that I've forgotten to sort of read the room, like where are we with this? I feel great about it, we should do it, right? But I can see in people's faces, maybe not everybody's on board with it. So we need to, kind of talk about it. So that's where the growth action of listening comes into play. So the expressive style, right? So the need is personal approval. We want people to like us, right? We want that. We're spontaneous people. But our growth opportunity is to check, right? Great example of this from me, one of the expressives of the world, is I built out a whole website on this brand that I was gonna work on, that I was gonna work under. I was gonna look at building this app last year, and I did a ton of research, and it was exhausting because I don't like research. But anyway, I had this grand vision, and I was like, I'm gonna get that domain, and I'm gonna get that, logo and everything. And now that I've been doing it for a while, I'm like, that's not what I want the company name to be. I should have just pressed pause and done more research on what I was actually trying to do. But I got so excited about the brand and the website, like I just kept going and going and going, right? And as a marketing person, it's hard for me because that's the fun stuff and I want to do the fun stuff. So that was something that I should have stopped and checked, right? I should have waited, pressed pause. Sometimes, obviously, expressives can look impulsive to other people. Sometimes maybe too opinionated, sometimes too talkative. But again, more open, just more generally open, right? Amiables, again, we've got some amiables here in the room. They want to feel secure, they want to feel calm. They are about relationships, right? They want to maintain the relationships, they want to build the relationships. But the growth action here is to initiate. So I have one of my friends, she's a dear friend, we've been friends for a long time, but she never asks me to do anything. I'm always the one that's calling and saying, hey, do you want to go to dinner? Hey, do you want to go to listen to some music? Hey, do you want to da da da? And I'm like, but she's an amiable, right? She is somebody who just wants to get along, but she never initiates anything, right? Because I think she's afraid that it's not going to be like what I want to do or whatever, like it's, I don't really know, but they are open, but they're just kind of go with the flow and agreeable, and they're not going to be the ones that say, hey, we should go do this. They're the ones that if you say, hey, do you want to go do this? They'll say, yes, that sounds great, let's do it, right? But they're not always going to initiate.
It's funny. I'm amiable, and when you said that, my perspective on deciding things like that is, it is just not important to me, and so I'm trying to leave it open. So if it is important to you, let's go ahead. Is there a restaurant that you really wanted to go to? Because I don't care. I want the company. I want the relationship. You want the event of the food.
Yeah, and that's the amiable. You're relationship focused, and my mom is an amiable, right? And I love that about her. But sometimes I'm like, no, you pick. You just pick. I always pick. Like, where do you want to go, right? And so anyway, but very easygoing, easy to be around. Great. Okay, so this can help. I think what's cool about this is if you can kind of just at a high level think about these 4 quadrants, when you go into an interview, when you go into a meeting, you can kind of get a sense by what people say, which is what we're getting to in a minute, the trivia game, of where they fit, what quadrant they fit in. And so so again, I'll use the Nissan example because David and I both worked there. A lot of the leadership there were very data driven, right? And it was like, if you had a meeting with the leadership team, you better be prepared with right down to the penny of the money, right down to the date of the go live. Like it was very much data, like what other companies had done, all this stuff, because that's what they want. Now, that was helpful because you would never be unprepared for a meeting because you knew you were going to meet with the majority of the leadership team you would meet with would be analyticals. And so you can strategize for those things. And then you can also be aware of your own style. And sometimes I have to, like, as an expressive, tamper down a bit because I can be too much, right? And I have to manage my energy and pull back a little bit. And I have to resist the urge to fill empty air. Right? So I'm the kind of person that it's hard for me to just, like, if I ask somebody's opinion, to just sit and not get an answer right away. So, but those are things that those are my growth actions, right? To listen, to bring it back a notch, to kind of dial it down, right? But the key is all of this is adaptability, right? Because if you want to connect with someone, it's more about what their social style is than yours. So if you want to take, I mean, I don't know if you want to take a picture of this screen or just remember this quadrant stuff. I wish I could have two screens, but I can't. But anyway, if you can kind of get this model in your mind or take a picture of it, or a screenshot for those online, we're gonna do the trivia piece. So I want people to kind of have this in their mind as they're doing the trivia. Did you get it from there? Did you get it? Okay. And then also, obviously, after you can record this too. Okay, so let's do a little trivia. So how we're gonna do this is the top is a phrase that someone would say in a meeting or in a company or whatever, really. And what I want everybody to do is vote for what they think it is. So let's press pause, no need to rush, we need to do more research anyway. Who thinks that's analytical? Okay.
4 hands up.
Driving. Amiable
1 hand up.
and expressive.
There's some up.
You are correct. It is an analytical person. They're the ones that say very often, hang on a second, let's think this through. We don't need to rush it. We don't need to decide today. Let's talk about it some more next week, right? Okay, question 2. I love brainstorming new ideas. Is that an analytical person? Is that a driving person? Amiable? Okay, or expressive?
4
Okay. Yeah. And you are correct. That is expressive. Expressives tend to be very risk averse, or not risk averse, pro risk, right? So it's like, that's my favorite. If you want to win me over and I'm working with you, the sentence is, Shantell from brainstorm. Yeah, I love it. Let's do it, right? But anyway, yeah, that's an expressive for sure. We can't keep sitting around. It's time to act. Who thinks that's analytical? Driving. Okay. Amiable. Expressive. Yep, you guys are correct. That's definitely a driver, right? We got to move this project forward. We've been talking about it. Where the analytical say, let's press pause, let's take time to think. The driving person will say, forget about thinking, we've talked about it too long already, let's get something done. Let's take it to done, right? Question 4, what have other companies done in this situation? Is that an analytical, driving, amiable, or expressive? So that was a little more mixed. That's a little more mixed. What about online? What are the people online saying?
James said driving. Yeah, we got one more.
So I would put that as an analytical because they're more likely to want to gather data. Not that the drivers aren't, but to me, the underlying meaning there is we need more data. Right, underneath that, what have other companies done? I want more data, I wanna see what, other companies have. How will this impact our employees? We think that's analytical, driving, amiable, or expressive.
Going back to amiable, which I think we had a bunch of hands up. I think it seems like it's more certainly on the ask side.
Yep. And because the people like Scott and Ian and Aaron are relationship oriented, they're more likely to go, well, how is it gonna impact our people? Like what's gonna happen with the relationships with our people, right? So that's definitely an amiable. Okay. This is a little bit tricky. What will this look like when they're done? So this is kind of a vision question. Is that an analytical? Is that a driving? Is that an amiable? Or is that an expressive? Yeah, I would say expressive because it's more futuristic and it's kind of that brainstorming thing. You could also say it might be analytical because they want to have the details of what it's going to look like when it's done, right? It even maybe could be driving because, you can kind of make a case for multiple ones there. I don't think it's amiable though, because the amiable person isn't going to ask what it's going to look like. They're just going to be hopeful that everybody likes it, right? And that it's all going to be okay. Just give me the bottom line. Have you ever heard someone say that? Give me the bottom line. What do we think that is? Is that analytical? The driving? Yeah. Yeah. Amiable and expressive. Yeah, it is driving, right? They're the leaders that you kind of walk in, or the coworker that you kind of walk in and you just give them the story lead, right? So you just say the ship crashed, right? Or whatever. You just tell them the news, and then they'll ask you questions or you can provide more information. But these are people, they just want the bottom line. Is this gonna work? Is it not gonna work? Okay, let's do it, right? This doesn't feel like the right move. Doesn't feel like the right move. Maybe another tricky one. Do we think it's analytical, driving, amiable, or expressive? I'm gonna say amiable because again, they're concerned about how it feels, and they're also risk averse, right? More risk averse than pro risk. So they're the ones they'll use the word like feel more. Whereas the analytical person might say, I don't think this is the right move. The amiable would say, I don't feel like this is the right move. Okay. Right? So that's kind of, again, very slight differences. It feels right, let's go with it. What does that sound like? Does that sound like analytical? Does that sound like a driver? Amiable or expressive? You could say this is expressive, but it could also be driver, right? That is kind of closely related to a driver statement. But again, I put it under expressive because the word feels, right? The bottom quadrant, remember, are kind of the feeler people. The upper quadrant are more the thinker people. So that's kind of why if you use a word like feels, that is why I put it under. I'll support whatever the team decides. The analytical, driving, amiable, or expressive. Yeah, that's an amiable, right? Whatever, I'll go along with whatever the team wants, right? like you said, I don't have a preference. You know, I really don't have a preference, I just want everybody to feel good about it, right? That's classic amiable. So, this is the screen that I wanted you guys to maybe take as well as screenshot of this. So these are, this is a really good, like, quick and dirty kind of chart. Let's say, okay, let's come up with a scenario here. JB, what type do you want to have a meeting with?
Oh, I need to know how to deal with, Steve. An analytical person.
An analytical person. So
Yeah.
you're a expressive person and you have a meeting with an analytical person. Okay, so the analytical people, they want to be right, they're gonna think. They want to be thorough, they don't want to improvise. If they don't like it, they're gonna want to avoid, they're gonna kick it down the road. Let's talk about it again next week, right? They want to talk about facts, avoiding risk, principles, and thinking. They want to be accurate and they want to provide evidence and service, okay? So if JD's going into a meeting, and he wants to pitch a new software, we'll just say. Got a great software, you think everybody in the company should use it. What are the kinds of phrases he should be using? What are the kinds of things he should do to prepare?
I'm sorry, who's he selling to?
He is going into a meeting with an analytical.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are the kind of phrases?
It basically comes down to,
Okay, so David is an analytical, so what would you want to hear?
it basically comes down to who, what, when, where, why. And start with why. Because that's usually the foundational item for somebody like me that's analytical, that wants to know what is my box that I'm starting. And then go from there.
So the facts, so he's asking for facts, like why? What is the fact behind this, right? And I think I would use phrases. I would stay away from feeling words with an analytical person, right? So I would say things like, I've been thinking about our poor performance of X, Y, and Z. You know, data tells us blah, 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 blah. I've done a lot of research and I found evidence that other companies are solving this problem by right? And you're kind of speaking to them in their vernacular and their language. If they say, well, I don't want to talk about it right now, let's talk about it next week, then the follow-up question I would ask is, what do you want me to prepare in the way of data for our meeting that will help you make that decision? What do you want me to come prepared with to help you make that decision next week, right? That puts it in their court, so they still feel like they have control, but you're asking them what they need to essentially, to be right. What do they need to feel good about it? What do they need to feel right about it? What do they need to be accurate, right? So that's kind of that column, right? Now, let's flip it and say you're pitching a new software idea to someone who's amiable. So we're pitching this to Ian. So what kind of thing would you want if we were pitching software to you, a new software? What would be your thoughts?
How everyone else is gonna feel about it.
Okay, perfect. So going in and saying things like, you know, Ian, I've noticed our employees are really struggling with. And I've been talking to some people, and one of the ideas that came up is this. And I've kind of put some feelers out, and the consensus is that this would be a really good idea. People seem excited about this idea. And it would really help them on their journey in the workday. Let's see. I've done some research, and this is an easy win for us, very low risk, right? Those are the kinds of things that you're going to want to talk about. You want to talk about feelings, relationships. It's easy. It'll be something that will make every day better for employees. Okay. So now let's pitch to a driver personality. Who's a driver? Anybody in here a driver? Anybody on the phone a driver? It's okay to be a driver. Don't feel bad if you are. Krista, are you a driver by chance?
Actually, analytical.
She's analytical, okay. Anybody else? Is there anybody else even on the phone anymore? Do we?
Yeah, no, they're there.
Okay.
I think a driver would be, we can have this installed in 3 months. We can have it implemented, we can have people trained within the month following that, and you will be a superhero.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Talking about getting it done, how it's going to be completed, how they're going to come, they're going to get the results they want, that they're immediate, right? We're talking about this happen immediately. They're willing to take risks, but they want to know, like, this has been done in other companies and it works out great. Yeah, and I think just we've got our best people on this. We've got the A team on this. That you can always count on us to deliver what we say we're going to, those types of things. And then if you were pitching a software to an expressive like Marcy or me or JD, what are some of the kinds of phrases that you would go use maybe for an expressive?
You could like paint the world with lots of detail. Yeah, you could paint the future with lots of words.
Yeah.
About how it's gonna feel.
Yeah, and I think an easy one is to be enthusiastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, well, I thought about it, there's some software related to our company, and I checked all the details. It's like, I found this solution that is just gonna blow this out of the water, right? I mean, it's more animated. You want to be more animated and more engaging and talk about the beauty of the future and just, and use testimonies and like, listen to this, listen to what this person said about the software. And I think, we want to be like, you're also going to be like, people are going to love that we did this, right? They're going to love that you've made this decision to do that.
And that kind of speaks to risk, taking the risk.
Yes, risk.
It could be or it could be.
Yeah, and for some personalities, like I don't mind risk. I mean, I'm like, sure, let's give it a go. What's the worst could happen? Just do it a different way, right? But some people just really don't, they don't like risk. So anyway, but I think that what I would just leave you as something to consider is when you're going into something, I have an interview tomorrow. And within the first couple of minutes, based on some of the words I hear or some of the questions that get asked, I'm gonna know kind of where that person sits, hopefully, right? If they show up and say, "Oh, Shantell, so good to see you. I'm just so excited." Hey, maybe they're an expressive, right? If they say, "Hey, I only have half an hour. We gotta get, I've got a ton of questions. If you could hold your questions to the end," they're probably a driver, right? They're probably somebody who wants to get it done. If they start asking a lot of, like, if they key in on analytics on their resume, they may want more data, like how do you actually measure this, right? Those types of questions. I think a lot of HR people are kind of the amiables of the world as well, because they have to get along with a lot of different personalities. So, if they kind of seem sort of relaxed and just like, open, they might be kind of an amiable personality. So it's not something that, it's almost kind of like a matching of energies in a way. And, driver, for example, drivers are kind of type A people, right? They're very, they can be very strong, kind of dictator leaders. I would never go to a driver leader and say, "I'm so excited to work with you on this. I'm so excited to partner with you." I would say things like, "I'm so excited to support you in this vision," right? Because they want to be the leader. They want to be the one in front. They don't want to be challenged in that way. So you're better off from a relationship standpoint, working with that instead of working against it. If you're working with an expressive leader, bringing the enthusiasm, they're going to want to feel that. If you're working with someone who's amiable, very easy to work with, they want a partner, they want to work with you. If the analyticals, they're going to want, again, more of the data. They're going to want to think about things, try not to push them too hard. I think saying things like, "Here's something to ponder for maybe next week when we chat. I've been thinking about this. Would you put some thought to it, and maybe we can circle back around next week." That kind of thing can help, right? And it's all about trying to adapt to people's styles. At the end of the day, that's what this is learning them so you can connect better.
Yeah, it's these are programs that are quite often a sales organization will be trained on these programs, and like Shantell said, hopefully even before you get in the door, know where the person you're selling to is coming from, so that you can prepare. And so, what are we doing here? We're all trying to sell ourselves, right? And so it's the idea of, who are you selling to? It doesn't matter about you; it matters about them, right? And some kind of one of the things that, if you're talking to the screener who's in HR, you've got not only the screener that you're anticipating, but the screener is also imagining the hiring manager's personality or their social style. So these are things, and you don't fret over it too much. You just be aware and try and track to it. Still be yourself, but try and track to where they are. And if you don't know, maybe just take tone down your personality or your traits that might kind of hit that intersection, that might, okay, this might please everybody, or it might please anybody. But being aware of this stuff is priceless in the interview process.
You just hit on something that's so important, which is, if you have big groups of people, you almost have to hit all the boxes, right? You have to do that icebreaker for the emotive, expressive people, to get the energy going. You need to have like the reflection time for the analytical and thinking folks, right? You kind of need to hit everything. And that's one of the things that it makes it fun, it makes it challenging. But I hope that this just gives you food for thought for your next interview. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm going to tell just a very quick, very small story. So I have struggled a lot in my own job search. And I shared this with Marcy a couple of weeks ago that when one night I was at the bottom, the end of the road. And I was praying and I was crying and I was praying and I was crying about my job search. And I just said, God, please, please, please help me find a job. Like, it's a tough market. I'm really wearing out. Please help me. And I got up for my prayer and my phone dinged. And it was 10 o'clock at night. I got a text message. And it was somebody that I used to work with. And she had found a couple of jobs that she had thought about. Now, I would have loved to have said, and they were perfect jobs, and I applied and I went, but no, I didn't. But because I didn't have the right certifications. But what that reminded me of is that God is aware, and He knows. He knows that we all struggle. He knows that we're all doing our best. And even if we don't have the answer, He knows. And I just want to tell you that I believe that if He knows me, He knows all of you too.
Easily.
And I just want to leave that with you and just say how grateful I am to have had this experience. In His name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Shantell. Any questions before we, and you want to do?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Monday, May 4th, this is going to be our fun night of getting together and bring some energy, bring a job hack, right? Like, David, maybe you could show us how to use the tool that you've been using for job seeking. There's some LinkedIn hacks that are good that I've been using. Bring an idea to share, and then we'll get together and we'll help source each other's jobs. And I have marketing contacts. Maybe I can help you with something. I know you do all the SHRM stuff, but we'll kind of strategize together. And there will be food. I'm gonna make some cookies, and I make good cookies. So if you only come with the cookies, but bring friends and we'll have music and it'll just be kind of fun. And then for the folks online, you won't get the treats, but we'll do a virtual version of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's 2 weeks from tonight. So thank you, folks. Shantell, thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful. And again, volunteer list. Don't hesitate to reach out to the people on the volunteer list. And I hope you all have a wonderful week and enjoy the spring weather. Thanks, folks.